this week's Ed Newsstand podcast, I take a look at Google Calendar. I'm not the greatest Google Calendar power user, but I have had a lot of questions from my staff about how to utilize certain aspects of Google Calendar. So I thought it would be a really good opportunity to look at some of the features, it's just some of the basic features that are available within this great Google app. So there are a lot of resources this week within the newsletter, and I encourage you to kind of look at the resources that are available and find the ones that work best for you. Let's dive in. So as you can see, I have a lot of resources on the page, so that might be a little overwhelming at first when you start to look at the newsletter, but I want to be clear about some of the resources that are actually available on the newsletter. So we're going to kind of go through these a little bit and get into some of them and show you why they're there and maybe talk about what is available for you. So one of the first things that I found, and I didn't realize this was a thing, is you can find a specific meeting time with someone in your calendar. So what you do is you go to your Google Calendar, and you can watch this little short video. I'm just going to show you real quickly how to do that. You go to your calendar, and then over on the side it says search for people, and you can literally search for someone. And when you find them, you click on it and it'll bring up their calendar. And then you can click on a time, and when you click on the date that you want to create a meeting for, it already adds them as a guest. So a quick little way for you to create a meeting with someone by looking at their calendar, even if it's not shared with you specifically so it shows up on the side. So that's one quick thing that you can do. Another thing here that you can do is you can add your tasks to your calendar. So I don't know if you are into using tasks. I've gotten into using them over the last year and a half or so. But your tasks show up in your email. And you can see then here that you just add a task. And when you get to your task, you click on the little pencil to edit the details. And voila, you can add a date and time, and it will automatically add that right to your Google Calendar. You can set it to repeat if you want to, and you get some options for how often you want it to repeat. But that is easily how you get your tasks to work right to your Google Calendar, to integrate easily. And then, so if you have something coming up or you need something that you need to do, you can add a task and then stick a date on it, and you'll get a notification in your Google Calendar. So that was pretty sweet. Sharing your Google Calendar, I found a little GIF here on the Google website, so you can share your calendar easily. There's some walkthrough steps right above it, so if you click on the link up here at the top, you should be able to easily share your calendar, and they'll give you a little walkthrough on the support page. So it'll show you how to share an existing calendar, how to delegate your calendar with somebody else. As an administrative calendar, you can share your calendar with everybody. You can make it a public calendar. So a lot of different ways for you to share your calendar. And in your calendar, you've got your settings, but you also have up here is your settings under the little gear on the top right-hand corner. But if you go over to your calendar that you see under My Calendars and you choose the little snowman or the three buttons on top of one another, then you can get to the settings specifically for that calendar. So here we go. I'm going to click on my calendar. I've got the three buttons. Settings and sharing. Over on the side, you've got access permissions, so you can click on that. It'll drop you down to access permissions, and you also have the option to share with specific people like you do in any other Google app, Google Workplace app. The next thing I want to talk about are keyboard shortcuts. So in your settings, you can look at all the keyboard shortcuts, and I covered keyboard shortcuts a while back with regard to a lot of different topics. So if you have keyboard shortcuts that you like to use, Google Calendar has those keyboard shortcuts for you as well. So you go up to your settings, you go to the settings part, in the settings top right hand corner under the gear, and then right here on the bottom part of your general settings are your keyboard shortcuts. And it says here you click the box to enable the shortcuts, and if you press the question mark, it will bring up all available shortcuts. And there aren't a ton of them, but there certainly are some of them for navigation, views, actions, and your application. So plenty of keyboard shortcuts for you to use within your Google Calendar. Next, there is a calendar cheat sheet. So if you need a little cheat sheet of where things are located, you can click on the link here, and I need to add my little guy, but you'll see my Bitmoji is going to be on this newsletter, and he is here telling you that all you need to do is just click on this little link here, and then you will be able to find some keep cheat sheets for your Google Calendar. So the great thing is Google has created a cheat sheet for you, and it's got all kinds of stuff here. So it'll show you how to create an event. It'll lay out what everything is when you create an event and what it looks like. You also have beginner tips, intermediate tips, and advanced tips for Google Calendar. But this is just a nice little walkthrough for you to be able to utilize Google Calendar if you're really unfamiliar with it and you're kind of maybe afraid to start using it as even an intermediate user. This little calendar cheat sheet will be a great resource for you. And then finally, down here at the bottom, these are a bunch of YouTube videos that I've made for staff about getting yourself more organized with families for maybe conferences or maybe some tutoring that you need to create for students, but awesome little ways for you to do this. And so you can create appointment slots, and you can create them individually, or you can create them as a giant block. You can create an appointment slot recurring meeting, so you can set that up where you have an appointment slot and you want it to show up every day, Monday through Friday, so people can sign up every day if they want to. You can do individual appointment blocks, which I kind of mentioned with the big time block. Where to find your public-facing calendar link, that is kind of important when you create these time blocks. How do you find that public-facing calendar link? How to create appointments on the iPad using Safari and Google Calendar. And then finally, how to get Google Calendar email notifications. So what's been happening is some of my staff has been invited to meetings through Google Calendar, and they're not getting the email notification that they need to. And so this video at the bottom will show you exactly how to get those email messages that you may have been missing out on. So there are a lot of great resources for you this week in the Ed Newsstand newsletter. I definitely recommend you check out all of the resources. Dig into the ones that you think are most beneficial for yourself. And if you find that maybe you're not interested in it, that's okay. I have a lot of resources. One last thing I will mention, though, is up here the Google Calendar logo is also a link. So you can head to the Google blog and check out a lot of their different tips to make the most out of your day with Google Calendar. So you can see a lot of the stuff I kind of cover in the newsletter, but if you want to see some of the information written out, ways to meet across different time zones or find a meeting time to work with everybody, or see other people's working hours, all of that stuff is going to be here and available for you in this week's newsletter. Well, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking in, and I hope the resources are valuable for you. Thank you for tuning in this week. As always, you can find me on Twitter at ReynoldsTroy. Find old episodes of the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at ednewsstand, and you can download my app to stay up to date with my content by scanning the QR code or by going to ednewsstand.glideapps.io and saving the app to your home screen. You can also find all the resources I just mentioned in my newsletter and watch the video I made on my website at ednewsstand.weebly.com. I'm Troy Reynolds. We'll see you next time on the Ed Newsstand Podcast.